So how this course works, we have live online course, which means that you can interact with the trainer and ask your questions while the teaching goes on. The class recordings are available in the LMS, for which you need to have an access, and you need to register with Edureka. There is a 24/7 post-class support provided by Edureka. You have module-wise questions and some mock tests. There is a project work which Edureka provides, and there is verifiable certificate which you get for your 35 PDUs, which is required. So the objective of today's session is understand the examination and the certification process of PMI, to learn about the PMBOK guide, and understand the project lifecycle and its characteristics. Just to give you a brief outline of it. Now we all know that PMI, or Project Management Institute, is a non-profit association or organization. It was established in 1969 and headquartered in Pennsylvania, USA. There are over 500,000, actually it's more than 600,000 now, members worldwide across 171 countries. PMI is actively engaged in the advocacy for the profession, setting professional standards, conducting research, providing access to a wealth of information. We'll talk about these a bit in detail as we move forward. PMI also promotes career and functional development and others, offers certification, networking, and community involvement opportunities. Now PMI has also started something called the Campus Ambassador program, where they are trying to push project management knowledge into the students itself. So you can see a list of the certifications or credentials that are there from PMI. So PMP is one. A lower version of that is the APM. Then you have Program Management Professional, which is PGMP. Agile Certified Practitioner is there. Scheduling Professional, Risk Management Professional, Portfolio Management Professional, which started last year, and PMI BAP, which is Business Analyst Professional, that started off last year, this year. Now, PMI's Project Management Professional, the PMP credential, is the most important industry recognized certification for project managers. It competes with, I wouldn't say compete, and similar to this is Prince 2, but Prince 2 is more at the Europe and Africa, whereas the rest of the world recognizes PMP more than Prince 2. So it's a globally recognized and demanded certification, and it demonstrates that you have the experience, education, and competency to lead and direct project. Now, PMP certification, we need to understand, is not a certification which says that you have learned project management. What it endorses is that you are an experienced project manager and you deliver your project management as per the best practices specified by PMI in the form of the PMBOK. So what are the different job roles of a PMP credential holder? They generate plans. So all the project management activities. So they generate plans, they coordinate among team members and other stakeholders, implementing the project management process, and whatever the product or service they are delivering, finalizing projects according to specification deadlines, keeping project under budget, defining projects objectives and schedules, ensuring quality control throughout the project, attaining resources, managing team and the consultants, assessing and minimizing project risk. So if you see this graph, we see that over the years, the requirement for PMP has increased. The salary trends also, if you see, is also increasing for certified project managers. So if you look at it, today international network of social and economic systems is the future. New opportunities and challenges will arise for leaders and communities. Widely adopted standard of PMBOK guide is helping people and managers to speak the global project language. So if everybody follows a particular best practice and standard, then what happens is everybody understands the same language. So PMBOK, being a PMP, all the PMP certified people understands the PMBOK in the same way as anybody else across anywhere within the world. So that is how you can be part of any project and still be able to manage it in the right way without any hiccup. Now coming to the prerequisites for PMP. Now there are two possibilities. One is you have a high school diploma or associate degree or global equivalent of that. That is, you don't have a bachelor's degree. In that case, you have to have 5 years or 60 months of project management experience, and during that period you have to have 7,500 hours of project management work. The other stream is when you are a bachelor's degree holder in any stream. In that case, you have to have over a period of 3 years 4,500 hours of PM experience. And you need to go through this training session, which will give you the 35 contact hours. The reason for this training session, why is it mandatory? It is mandatory because in our life, in our practical scenario, we most probably don't follow everything as specified by PMI in the PMBOK. So we need to understand and learn exactly what they expect out of a project manager. And the questions expects you to answer them from that perspective, not from the perspective of what you are doing. Because we might not be following everything to the extent that it is specified in the PMBOK. So this 7,500 hours or 4,500 hours, whatever is applicable, should be non-overlapping, which means many times what we do is we work on multiple projects at the same time. So let's say if somebody is working in project A and project B from 1st of October to 31st of October. Now 22 days into 8 hours is 176 hours. So we don't put 176 hours for project A and 176 hours for project B. That is double counting. So if we have worked for, let's say, 76 hours in project A and 100 hours in project B, it should be shown and distributed like that in your application form. We will see the application form down the line. Now once you apply, you will be getting a approval letter. Now 20% of the applications that goes to PMI across the world are randomly picked for audit. In that case, you will get a letter saying that you have been selected for audit, and then they will ask you to give certain documents which actually needs to be sent by courier to them, and they will also call the references that you have given to verify your experience that you have mentioned in your application form. Now, when we talk about the project management experience, PMI is not bothered about what is your designation. You may be a senior programmer, you may be a project manager, you can be a program manager, you can be a consultant, principal consultant, whatever your designation may be. You need to be working as a project manager. What is important is this 4,500 hours or 7,500 hours you have spent doing project management work. Nothing else. So what is the project management work that we will talk about as we fill up the form, as we look at the form. So it's a computer-based online exam which you have to give at the Prometric Center. So when you get your approval letter, you will also get a link to the Prometric Center, and you have to search for your Prometric Center near your place, and then you have to book in advance the examination slot. It's a 200 multiple choice questions, and the total time is 4 hours. Now, as once you start, the clock starts. So you can go out for having water or to the restroom or something, but the clock will not stop, and you cannot close the window, the browser. If you close it, your exam is over. So be very careful not to close or use the back button in the Internet Explorer and things like that, because that will close the program. The exam will be over for you. That is one of the reasons why you need to do mock tests, because we need to tune our body to sit for 4 hours and concentrate, which we currently don't have in most of the cases. Now, out of the 200 questions, 175 are actually marked, whereas 25 are basically questions which they use for testing out, because they from time to time change the questions and they improve on the questions. So that's the reason these 25 questions are. But we will not be, as a candidate, will not be able to understand which are those questions. So as far as the candidate is concerned, he or she has to answer all the 200 questions in 4 hours. So these examination is developed by a group of individuals from around the globe, and with psychometric thought processes brought in, with proper understanding of the project management. It's one of the most toughest exams. There is a rating which is there by defined by Dr. Bloomberg. So this is a Bloomberg level 6 exam, which is the highest, which means that it is not only you learn whatever you learn, it is trying to assess your ability to understand the situation and find out the right solution from the best practices and apply it. So all the questions are scenario based. Once you clear the exam, you will get your certificate in the next 2 months, and you get a PMP welcome kit where you have a pin, and you can use those PMP logo with your name and so on and so forth. Now, the exam will also have another 30 minutes, 15 minutes in maximum, 15 minutes in the beginning for you as a tutorial to teach you how you should do the exams, like how you answer the questions, how you mark the questions to come back later on for doing the reviewing it, and so on. Because it is only those marked questions that you mark for review later is what you can come back and revisit. In this regard, one of the points that I would say is, whether you are marking it for review or not, please answer the question anyway. So there should be an answer. And then if you get time, you come back and review. The reason is that a lot of times whatever you think the first time is the right answer. If you don't answer and just mark it for review, then what happens is your question, when it calculates, and if you don't have time and could not answer, it will have 0 marks. But if you had answered and most probably the answer is right, you will get those marks. So one of the best practices to answer all questions in the first shot, but if you want to mark somebody to revisit, mark it, but answer the question anyway. After the exam, there is a survey which you have to complete. It is after the survey that you will get your result. It will show you whether you have passed or failed. And in the past, it will tell you that in each of the process groups, how proficient you are. It does not give you the marks because we don't know what is the pass percentage or how the marks is calculated. What we know is each question has got some weightages and it has some intelligent algorithm and process of calculating the marks. Any questions so far? Okay, if there is no questions, we will move forward. So these are the 5 process groups, as it is called. That is, these are the 5 stages that any project will go through. So one is the initiation, where you initiate the project. Then you have the planning, where you plan what you want to do. Then third is your execution, where you actually execute the project. Fourth is your monitoring and control. Now monitoring and control spans from initiation to closing. So as long as you do anything on the project, you need to constantly monitor and control. That's the work of a project manager. And finally, once the work is over, you have to close the project. So these are the 5 process groups. And as I said in the earlier state, that in the application form, that 4,500 hours, you should be doing work in one or more than one of these domains or process group. So either initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, control, and closing. There you should be doing the work. Now questions, 13% questions comes from initiation. That means 26. Around 28 questions on planning. Around 30 questions on execution. 25 questions, 60 questions on execution. 50 questions on monitoring and control, and 16 questions on closing. So that is the breakup of your exam questions. Now, what is the exam fee? Now, the exam fee is $555. Now, there is a paper-based testing available, but nowadays these paper-based testing is being stopped in all places where there is prometric centers. It's only places where there is no prometric center they allow paper-based questions. Now $555 is the exam fee which you'll have to pay when you are submitting your application. But my suggestion is always to become a member first. You can become a member now itself. You don't need to be a PMP to become a member. But I would suggest to you to have a membership for various reasons. First of all, the fees is $405, but the membership will come to around 139 USD, plus there will be another 10 to 20 USD for the chapter that you become member. Now, becoming a member to a chapter is not again mandatory, but it is good to have it. I'll explain why. Now, nearly around $160 is what you are going to spend, and 160 plus 405 is around 565. So it's most probably around 555 to $565. So what you will see is that you are not gaining much on the money part of it, but what you are gaining is that if you have to give the exam, you have to go through PMBOK. Now, the official version of PMBOK 5 will cost you around $100 to buy from outside. But if you are a member, you will be able to get it free. You can download it from the PMI site, number one. Number two, you will get lot more other resources which you can read during this time to prepare yourself for the exam. Those are also available in the PMI library for the members. Number three, there is a lot of templates which are available which you can use as a project manager and you will have access as a member. Finally, this certification is valid for 3 years. Every 3 years you have to renew the certification. For renewal, what is required is you need to earn 60 PDUs over this period of 3 years. And then you have to pay a small fee to do the renewal. Now to do that, getting the 60 PDUs, 15 PDUs you will get over the period of 3 years. That is 5 PDUs every year as you are a practicing project manager. So you can claim 15 PDUs there. But other than that, what you have to do is, one, you can go to the PMI conference or any of the PMI events which is conducted by PMI in your country or by your chapter. So if you are attached to your chapter, you will be able to attend those seminars and all at a cheaper price, because all PMI events has a non-member price as well as member price. So down the line, many events when you join, you will be able to save a lot on that. Number two, as a member, you have the opportunity of volunteering for your chapter or maybe other chapters also. There is a system called VRMS where you can search as a member and you can find opportunities which you can take, and you can get PDUs by doing volunteer work. So all these kind of activities can be done and you will be able to get your 60 PDUs easily over the 3 years. So that way, and you also get to interact with a lot more project managers across different industries, different organizations in those PMI meetings. Now, with those in place, what will happen is the money part, even though is not apparently you save, but down the line you are able to save it. So my suggestion is go for the membership, and then when you have gone through the exam, then you will go for gone through the training session for the preparatory course, you go for the exam. Now PMBOK is a best practice, it is not a standard. So it is not like ISO 9000 where it is mandatory to follow. It is like best practice. So you might decide to follow, not decide to follow. Here also you can do tailoring. So whatever is relevant to your project is what you will be able to, what you can take up. Only thing is you should have your own approvals properly done from the relevant stakeholders. So it is a distilled version of the project management body of knowledge, and it coexists with the corresponding application area knowledge, general management skills and interpersonal skills. Now PMBOK guide is published by PMI and inputs from practitioners and academics have been included. So it is generally PMPs like us who contributes towards improving the standard. So when it changed from 4 to 5 version, that is how many PMPs across the world, including people from India, have contributed in the changes. Similarly, once you become a PMP, you have the option of volunteering for reviewing PMBOK new versions or uh, write some specific topics there, etc. So this PMBOK guide is organized in 3 sections. The first chapter is basically on the project management basic concepts and framework. So it has the introduction, it has the organization influence and project life cycle and basic concepts. Then the second part is it talks about the standard for project management in terms of defining the 5 process groups. That is initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closure. And each of these process groups has number of processes. Total number of process for PMBOK 5 is 47. And these 47 processes are spread across the 5 process groups and 10 distinct knowledge areas. So what is a project? So project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service or result, which means that temporary endeavor means that it has a definite start and end date. So if you look at a software project, the software project has a definite start date and a definite end date. But if you look at a support for software, now support for software application is an ongoing process. It is going, there is no definite end date. So you as a company might have got an order to do it for from say 1st April 2014 to 31st March 2015. That is a commercial aspect. But for as far as the work is concerned, it is continuing in a repetitive manner. So that is operations, that is not project. So son's birthday party or going for a vacation, these or your annual event, award ceremony of your organization, all these are projects. These are temporary endeavors which has a beginning and an end, and it's not an ongoing effort. Number 2, it has to create a unique output in terms of a product or service or result. So what is product? So a software is a product. What is a service? This training is a service, or a consulting engagement is a service. And what is a result? Sometimes you don't create a product, or it is not just a service, but you create some kind of an output. Say for example, you engage somebody to do a feasibility study and give a feasibility report. Now this feasibility report is termed as a result. So it has to create a unique product, service or result. So let's say for example, if there is a builder who is building a complex. Now the builder is building a similar complex in 2 different places. The specifications are exact. The amenities in the houses are exact. The look of the houses are also exactly same for both. Are these 2 products similar? Are these 2 similar or they are still unique? They are still unique because the 2 places are different. The wind condition may be different, the soil condition may be different. So there will be certain factors which are different, which will have a different effect on the 2 places, and hence it's still unique. One more concept that needs to be understood is about progressive elaboration. What it means is that at the beginning of the project, you don't have the complete idea of the project itself. As you go into the project, you get to know more about the project, and hence you are better equipped to plan further. So what you do is, at the initial stage, maybe you will plan only for the requirements gathering to a detailed level. But after the requirements gathering and at a higher level for the design, development, and testing, all these aspects. But once you complete requirements gathering, you will be able to make more detailed planning for the rest of the phases. That is called progressive elaboration. That is, incrementally you design and plan and refine the initial plans and design and concept towards the project. So as you see, there are some examples of the project, like developing a new product, service, or result, putting into effect a change in the structure, process, staffing, or style of an organization. Like it can be a BPM project where you are doing a business process reengineering, developing or acquiring a new or modified information system, like implementing a new software or ERP or so on, conducting a research effort whose outcome will be recorded, constructing a building, industrial plant, infrastructure like dams, roads, whatever. These are all projects. Implementing, improving, or enhancing existing business process. That is also a project. Any questions so far? Okay. So another concept that we need to understand as a project manager is the difference between the project and product life cycle. The reason is the project manager delivers actually two things. The project manager delivers the project and also delivers a product. So the requirements that the client gives, that functional requirement is the product. However, the project manager is also responsible for managing the project within the constraints, within the competing demands like time, cost, scope. The only scope part is the product, risk, resource, all these are part of the project. So project manager has to ensure that the project is successful and the product is as per the customer expectation. So he is looking at satisfying two different needs, and hence a project actually has two different sponsors. One is from the customer side, the other is from your internal organization, the person who will give you the resources. You don't run to a project customer to ask him for a big data analyst that you will need or a big data developer that you will need. You will go to your internal organization's department head or like your manager to get those resources. So he is one of the sponsor, as well as the customer is another sponsor. Now project life cycle, we all know it starts at the initiation. You do project planning, you do project execution and control. You do the project execution. The monitoring and control happens from the initiation till the closure, and finally you close the project. But that is your project life cycle. But product life cycle continues further. Product life cycle starts with the project, but ends only when the product that you have delivered is stopped being used. So if it is a, let's say, financial accounting system that you have developed, so your project life cycle is till the time you have implemented the financial accounting system. Whereas the product life cycle will end further down after another 4 5 years or 10 years, when the organization, your customer, decides to stop using that particular financial accounting system and may change to another new one or change to an ERP or something. So there is a life cycle cost and there is a product life cycle cost. So project life cycle cost is the cost of the project for developing the project and implementing. Product life cycle cost is the project cost plus the cost that you will incur to run and manage the product that you have taken over the time frame of as long as it is going to be used. So that is your product life cycle cost. Now in the project life cycle there are multiple stages. So we have heard about waterfall model, agile and all those. So the life cycle of the project is different for different type of projects and different domains. So say for example here you have a feasibility, analysis, design, implementation are different stages which can be seen as a typical IT project life cycle. So it is a series of phases that a project phase passes through from its initiation to closure. All projects are divided into phases. Why? So that it can be better managed and controlled. And life cycle helps in determining work to be completed in each phase to move to the next phase. A construction project might have a different kind of phase where you might have a design, you may have a initiation where you will have some kind of getting approvals and things like that from various authorities. Then you move into design, then you get into the construction, then you move on to the testing. All those are different from a IT project. Now if you see this graph, what it tries to say is that the cost and the use of resources are lower at the starting of the project. So in the IT project also, when we start, we have the project manager, maximum another business analyst who will go and do the initial project requirements gathering, etc. Now as time passes and project gets into execution phase, during the development you have the maximum number of people working on a project, and that is the time when the maximum expense is being incurred. Then as the project is going towards closure, that is when you are doing the UAT, the number of people involved in the project again becomes less till the end where the project is closed and the resources are released. So this graph shows that there is a bell kind of a curve of usage of resource as well as the cost of the project. This graph shows a very interesting point, which is over a period of time how stakeholder influence, risk and uncertainties behave and how cost of change happens. So if you look at it at the beginning of the project, the involvement of the stakeholder or the influence of the stakeholder is much higher because that is the time when they are specifying their requirement, approving the requirement, whether you have understood, approving the scope. So their influence is much higher. Then you get into the phase where you will do the work and then you will get the approval from the customer. Because of your less knowledge at this point of time about the project, the risk and uncertainty also is higher. So as you go down the project time, you will see that gradually the stakeholder influence as well as the risk and uncertainty is reducing. But on the other hand, the cost of change is lower if you can catch the defects at the beginning and take care of it. As time passes, and you are more into the project, the cost of change increases. So suppose there is a change which is required to be done at the time of your scoping itself, at the time of requirements gathering, you only need to make little change in the requirements document itself. However, if you find that you have missed out a big functionality which might have effect on another 5 other functionalities which you have developed at the time of your UAT, from starting from the requirements gathering stage, document, design document, every activity has to be reworked to come back, and a thorough testing has to be done across all the work that has already been completed to implement that change. So cost of change becomes higher as you need to do a change at the towards the end of the project. So now what we will do is we will see our application form. So any question till now? Okay. Now if you look at the application form, this is a PDF format, but you will have to fill it up in the online scenario. So if you are a PMI member, here you will put your PMI ID. Then you will go for option A, PMP credential. Now you have to give details about yourself, the name, middle name, prefix, last name. You have to give a specific, section 2 is for a specific government issued identification. So let's say a driving license or a passport, you have better to give the name as in the passport, and you, if there is a audit, you need to send the copy of the scanned copy of the printout of the Xerox copy of the passport to show that the name is same, and then how you want your name to come on the PMP certificate. So it is based on this section 3, your PMP certificate will be printed. Then you have your billing address where you have home or business. So sometimes people gives home address, sometimes people gives office address because sometimes office pays for it. My suggestion is this, because this is a long-term activity and you need to carry on with this, it is better to have your address as your home address because you may change your job. Preferred email, fax. Then there are certain survey questions in terms of which industry you work on, and then you have to give your highest diploma level of education. You don't have to give all the education, it is only the highest level of education that you need to give. Your field of study. Then you come to the main part, which is your project experience. So here you have to give the project title, that is name of the project, when you started the project, when you completed the project. So how long you have been in that project is what is important. So if this is not about how long the actual project was, this is how long you started and you completed. What is your role? So there are certain roles which is defined, you have to select one. What is the industry, the job title, organization name. Then you have to give all these details. This is the primary contact. So this is the person, in case of an audit, the person who will be contacted. So the first name, last name, what was the role of that person in that project, the phone number and email. So generally they give the send a mail or sometimes even call to people to check. So whoever names you are giving, make sure that they know what you have given in the filled up form. You can take a printout of the filled out form, and it is better to give them a copy of that so they can certify that yes, what you have said is right. Now if you see that here there is a form where you are saying you see the 5 process groups: initiation, planning, execution, control and closing. And what you need to do is here you need to give the number of hours you have worked in those process groups for that project. Now in a project you may have worked only as a where you have only planned the project, you have created the schedule, you have estimated the time and so on. Then it is at the planning stage. If you have written the project charter, that is in the initiation stage. Execution means where you have actually monitored the progress of the project, where you have actually taken feedback from the team and understood their progress and helped them out in terms of how, if there is any deviation from the expected uh, project schedule. So those are execution work and controlling work. So closure is where you have actually sat for meetings where you have chaired the lessons learned, documented it, you have signed off on all the contracts if you had a subcontractor, where you have gone to the customer and actually taken the sign-offs and project closure certificate from them. Those are closing activities. So writing code, writing down standards for the project are not project management activities. So you have to be doing project management activities and put down the number of hours for each of the project. Now this you have to fill multiple times for all the projects that you have worked on to give the total 4,500 or 7,500 hours. And for each of the project you have to give the name of the person with the person's details in case there is an audit for them to contact. Now you have to say that where you got the 35 contact hours or the PDUs. So Edureka is a REP, so you have to choose this category A. And from this when you choose this category A, you will find Edureka's REP ID, which is there in your course material on the slides. You will find there, and you choose this particular course, and your 35 PDUs will be credited. So make sure that the PMI chapter meeting and self-study does not are valid for getting this 35 PDUs. But it is also not necessary. So once you fill up those, you will come to the other information, that whether there is a why you are applying, whether employer wants, etc., etc., some more information, language, because there are some multi-language examinations available. There is a certification handbook which you can download, and there is a PMI code of ethics and professional conduct. This is also something which you should download and go through it. The rule is that you should download it, print it, sign it, and keep it with you. One of the more important point that comes out is that there are at least around 20 questions on PMI code of ethics and professional conduct. Earlier this used to be separate questions. Now this is a scenario based question which falls in any of those other process groups. So you need to understand the code of ethics and professional conduct, that you have to go through once. And then you have to make the payment. So once you make the payment, then they will send you a mail immediately saying that your application has been received. And once the application is received, then it will take some 4 to 5 days generally for you to get the approval letter. Sometimes generally on the same day itself approval comes, or on the same day itself or the next day the letter for audit also comes, if your application is selected for the audit. And then once you get the approval, you have to go to the link and get get your books, book your Prometric Center. Now, generally what I feel is and suggest is that after completion of this course, you should take around 6 to 8 weeks maximum to sit for the exam. And it is generally, if you say that 1 week is generally taken, the moment you are doing the course, around that time itself, you should have the membership. Once the course is over, you should immediately apply, because it will take you a week for them to send you the approval, and then it will take at least 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks to get a exam slot in Prometric Center, because they are very busy. So nearly around 4 to 5 weeks is spent. So that is the time which you take for preparation, and then you sit for the exam. That is how what I recommend you should plan for your PMP examination. So that's all I have for today. If there is any question, you can ask. Okay, fine. Thanks, everybody. So we will